Hello and welcome back to another Lorcana video here. So we're going to cover DLC Hong Kong, which you can see from the mat on the screen. This happened this past weekend. It's the last DLC from this set and from this meta. For some people that's sad, some people that's exciting. For me, I'm just excited for the new cards to come out and just to see what it does to the meta. I'm a blue player by nature, but definitely is exciting to see other archetypes get a chance to run as well. So this is the grand finals of DLC Hong Kong. So before we hop into the game, I do want to mention that Hong Kong structure was a bit different than like the North American and European DLCs. This is a best of one format, which is crazy to me. But it's best of one format, which is why you're only going to see one game covered here. So super interesting. But anyways, if you want to watch the full tournament, it is on Lorcana's Twitch channel. We're going to cover a lot of the games of it this week, just to like get that last breath of this format. So let's dive into this game. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. Let me know what you think about the best of one format in the comments as well. Again, I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's bad or good. It's just interesting. So anyway, so in the finals here, we do have a Blurple mirror, which again I think it tells a story of this best of one format. That best of one, you have to build a deck that's super consistent, because if you brick one time, you're just dead, right? Like you have one chance, not to quote some Eminem here, but you have one shot, one opportunity, and if you brick one time, then you're just out, and it does put a little bit of a risk on Blurple that if you miss ramp, it could just knock you out of the tournament. But the odds of finding ramp in these blue decks and these sapphire decks is pretty high. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's pretty high. So that's why you still see a high consistency factor with these sapphire decks, even though missing ramp is a killer. So anyway, so looking at this, so Freeman over here on the right side of our screen got to go first here, so you can see he ramped up quicker, or he get the ramp up first, and then I think it's Ruizhe. I might be mispronouncing that, but Ruizhe's on the other side of the screen, and he's going second here. But he was able to get out of Basil on turn one, versus Freeman did not have anything to play on turn one. So we see kind of a mirror play here from both players, with obviously the big difference being that Ruizhe was able to get out a turn one play versus Freeman that was not. So, anyways, again, it's nothing game breaking there, but nothing game breaking, but that Basil can give you so much value, especially in the evasive wars as the game goes on. So, okay, so we see Freeman here. We see the Iago in his hands, which is always a risk to play on 4 ink, because if your opponent has an action to target it, it can be such a tempo swing to just knock out your four cost play. So let's see, he's got Cheshire Cat, he's got an Elsa in there. Okay, so he's going to ink that Cheshire Cat, and I think we are going to come down with the Iago, and he's going to pass it back over. And again, you do say that the Iago just getting sniped off by an action does feel bad, but he just he just draws into a Hypnotic Strength, which is just crazy that he just top decks that. And so for Ruizhe here, it's going to be a decision of, does he play Genie here on turn 4, or does he go straight into the Hypnotic Strength? And the risk of that, obviously, in this Blurple mirror is that if he plays that Genie and Freeman has the Elsa next turn, that is very, very tough to tempo back. So I think that is the right decision to just go ahead and Hypnotic Strength that Iago, and then it allows him to, he won't be able to develop any characters this turn, but he does still have the Tipo and Basil over there, so he still has a board, which is good. It's just unfortunate he won't be able to have more of a board, with the Genie being developed, because you would expect your opponent to develop another evasive character next turn, whether it's the Genie, whether it's an Elsa, maybe that Ursula with the boost that gives it evasive. Obviously, it would be able to get evasive on this turn, but anyways, okay. So just deciding what to ink here, Ruizhe, before he passes it back over. Obviously, this is the final, so these decisions are all very, very important. So he's going to ink that Bell. And he's going to quest with the Basil. Give Tipo support. And then, we're going to see magical maneuvers. which is going to bounce that Basil back to his hand, exert the Tipo, and the Tipo with that support is going to be able to take out the Tipo from Freeman. So, again, not like a crazy play there, but it is going to save his Basil from being hit by the Elsa next turn, and gives good value off of that 2 ink that was left over after Hypnotic Strength came down, which is then going to, not force Freeman, but it's going to like prompt Freeman to play that Genie versus the Elsa this turn, because Elsa into a Tipo is not really the value that you want. So now the decision goes to what he's going to ink here. I think we see a Demona, we see Iago, maybe a Hades. Yeah, a Hades in there as well. So all good cards for Freeman. So having to get rid of one of these definitely feels bad. Inking the Iago definitely feels bad too, because that one of them already got sniped. See Hades? No, okay. I think Hades is probably the right play here. But Hades is card draw, which, card draw's good in card games, I heard. Yeah, it's a tough call. It's definitely, you could definitely make an argument for almost every card in his hand to be inked this turn. Hades ends up being the decision, and he passes it back over to Ruizhe. So Ruizhe draws return, draws into a Hades. So let's see what he develops here on 5 ink. Obviously, the Hades is going to have to stick in his hand for a couple of turns. But Hades in this mirror matchup is so powerful, just being able to, this matchup can end up being kind of a Hades back and forth, just back and forth of just each player Hadesing each other, and then whoever doesn't have the answer to the Hades ends up being in a really bad spot. And so Ruizhe having one is nice. Okay, so he's going to develop his Genie here. He's going to be able to draw. And so Genie being developed here for Ruizhe is like, so Freeman's next turn I think is going to be relatively obvious with playing Elsa, and then he can go Genie Elsa into the Genie, which is just always good value there. But the question will be, does the Basil come back down here? I think yes it does, because that definitely threatens the Genie. Yes, this is going to be a nice tempo swing here for Freeman next turn with that Elsa taking out the Genie for Ruizhe. And he's going to decide to quest the Tipo to go to 2. We know from Richmond how important questing Tipos can be. So making sure you get some value there is always great. And he's also aware of the fact that Freeman is pretty likely to have a Elsa in his hands to take out that Genie, which would mean that Tipo is safe even with questing here. I think I saw an Into the Unknown in his hand as well. Maybe, yes. Into the Unknown, Elsa. Yeah, so Elsa comes down onto the Genie as expected, and he could sing Into the Unknown here. I don't know if that's the right play or not. Yeah, I think he's just going to take it out. Yeah, so he's gonna put Genie and Elsa into Genie and banish that. And yeah, so for Ruizhe on his side, on the player on the left side here, like, this is where the board can start getting a little bit scary for him. That there's 2 evasive characters developed from Freeman, and he currently has none, so he can't really interact with Freeman's board. And both Elsa and Genie have damage on them that could be bailed, could be Cheshire Catted away on to take out either the Tipo or the Basil next turn. So there's just a lot of value being set on Freeman's side of the board. And unfortunately, I think there could be an Elsa in Ruizhe's hand. I can't remember if there is or not, but if there's an Elsa, then okay, there is an Elsa. So the Elsa is going to come down, and we'll be able to take out either the genie or the Elsa. The Basil could quest to give support to the Elsa and take out the Elsa on his side, which is what he's going to do. Yeah. So that makes sense there. So taking out the Elsa, there's not really, Freeman's still sitting at 0 lore here, so there's no real lore pressure from Freeman on his side to have to worry about taking out that genie instead, just because of lore pressures. He's sitting at 0. So yeah, Ruizhe's sitting in a good spot here. He just was able to swing Timbo back with that Elsa play. If he didn't have that Elsa, he was going to be in a rough spot. And so now Freeman, he just drew into a Hypnotic Strength, which he could take out the Elsa with his genie, with the Hypnotic Strength. He also has a Demona, which we could see him potentially sing into the unknown with the genie, ink Hypnotic Strength, play Demona, which would allow him to draw 3 cards, and Ruizhe would draw 1. But then next turn, Ruizhe is going to be on 7, which would mean the Hades would then take out that Demona and send it back to his Inkwell. So yeah, a lot to consider here, but I think that's going to end up being the best play, singing that onto the Elsa and then getting down the Demona after inking Hypnotic Strength, just to make sure you draw the most amount of cards you can. And of course, you're giving your opponent 1 card never feels great, but giving him 1 while you gain 3 is pretty good. So we're going to ink that Hypnotic Strength, play the Demona, and then draw 3 cards. So he draws into another Hypnotic Strength, a Cell, and a Dumbo. And he passes it back over to Ruizhe. So, yeah, I think this turn for Ruizhe becomes pretty easy depending on what he drew here. That Demona, I can't imagine existing after this turn, especially since he can just go Hades, and that's going to be a very, very nice swing for him on the board. That Freeman's just going to be sitting there with the genie. He drew into a Hades as well. I don't think he needs the Hades. Yeah, I was going to say I don't think he needs that. So yeah, I think this turn's a pretty easy decision to go with Hades here, the blue Hades, into that Demona. And yeah, I wish we could see his full hand, because you could definitely make an argument of keeping that purple Hades to be able to, target the genie next turn, since you don't have any Vases on the board and you're not developing one if you're going to play Hades this turn. Which would, Freeman would, I would imagine, let you draw 2 cards. So that's 2 more cards to draw, which would help your engine, obviously. Yeah, so he's got his 7 ink kind of fractured off there. So I imagine that the Hades is what's going to come down. And we know from looking at Freeman's hand that he does not have the answer for the Hades. He doesn't have his own Hades to play either. Yeah, I think Ruizhe's trying to decide. I think he was trying to decide whether he plays on the genie or the Demona, but I think that's a pretty obvious play. He also has the 1 extra ink to go ahead and play a Rafiki, so he's down to 1 card in his hand, but has a very fearsome board here, has a lore lead of 6-0. So everything is kind of going in his favor currently. So let's see if Freeman's going to be able to swing this back into his favor. I'm not sure what he drew. Okay, so he's going to start off with a Sail to draw. Okay, we see a guidebook in his hand now, along with the Hypnotic Strength and a Dumbo. So yeah, if Dumbo comes down, he can definitely use Dumbo's ability on the genie to draw an extra card, but he is going to decide to just put genie into that Tipo and banish the Tipo. So yeah, he's getting some good value off of that genie. It's obviously still standing as well, which is nice. So we'll see the Dumbo developed. We'll see a Rafiki developed as well. And then we might see, okay, he's going to go ahead and pass. I was going to say we might see the Hypnotic Strength ink into the guidebook going ahead and being played. So next turn he can just pay 1 and draw 2 cards. But yeah, he's done a good job of staying alive here. We see the Elsa pulled now. Yeah, we see the Elsa pulled, or is it Belle? Yeah, we see the scoop here, which is interesting. Yeah, we see the scoop. That's a pretty quick concede there. That's pretty quick concede there from the from the players, especially in the finals there. So yeah, um, Freeman conceded there, and Ruizhe's going to take the grand finals of DLC Hong Kong. So yeah, what a kind of anticlimactic finish there, but congratulations to Ruizhe for taking down the DLC. That's a great achievement, obviously. But yeah, it's I kind of felt that game was going to go a bit longer. I mean, but I think the writing was on the wall there for um, for Freeman, that the game was, he was in a rough spot, so he went ahead and conceded and just took second place, which again, second place in the DLC, nothing to scoff at there as well. So yeah, congratulations to both players. And yeah, this was the grand finals of DLC Hong Kong from this past weekend, the last DLC of this set, which is really exciting as we pull into the next set and like next week, which is really, really exciting and coming up really quickly. So anyways, thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks for checking out the video. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Comment below what you think about the best of one format, like I mentioned earlier. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, we'll see you later on this week as we post more content from DLC Hong Kong. So we'll see you then.